So today's video is going to be a companion piece in some ways to the preview video I put out last week of the match between Sentinels and 100 Thieves in the America's VCT Last Chance qualifier. As expected, it was a 3-map series, but it was Sentinels that were able to come out on top. In this video, I wanted to quickly cover my thoughts on what I think will likely happen from here for 100 Thieves. Now, as far as the idea of the entire roster being blown up, is completely ludicrous. The problem with this team and the reason why fans, pundits, analysts were so disappointed by this year for 100 Thieves is because the pieces on this roster are too good for the results that we saw, or rather the potential for them was too good for the results that we saw. So as far as getting rid of everyone and trying to build an entire roster of 5, to me just seems completely ludicrous unless DDK has full faith in Mike's on being able to build that roster himself. But it's that decision, whether this team has faith in Mike's HD as the coach or not, is probably one of the biggest decisions for this team to make, because from watching 100 Thieves in the regular season and then watching them come into this event, improved as they were from the months that they had to prepare for this event and still seeing the holes that we did, at the end of the day, the failures of this team came down to a failure in the overarching structure for this team. And 100 Thieves did bring an analyst a couple of weeks ago, but analysts are never there for the structure. The people building the structure is the head coach and the IGL, Stellar and Mike's. And it's that combined unit in this team that, in my opinion, failed to develop a system to allow these players to deliver at the potential that we expect them to be able to. And I don't know the ins and outs of this team at all. I don't know if it's one individual in that duo to blame. I don't know if it's both to blame. That is up to Nadeshot. That is up to their general manager, DDK, to make that decision. But from the outside looking in, unless there is an issue with key players, multiple players on this team, it would be completely unexpected if this organization retains both Mike's and Stellar. Because unlike Sentinels, who their issues of getting their team together had to do with the revolving door of talent that came through, and we saw what happens when they can get all 5 players working for more than just a few weeks at a time. They come out and they play as an incredibly successful organization, as we saw in these matches, as we saw in the 2 13-7 map victories that they had over 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves, on the other hand, started with the same roster from the very beginning, started with the same support staff from the very beginning. Not a single player moved around over the course of VCT, over the course of the break between the regular season, and there were still pretty big noticeable flaws with this team that you saw in their match against the Sentinels. And the reason why these flaws aren't strictly on the player side, why it's not, oh, why didn't Derek get a couple more kills? Oh, Cryo should have gotten more aces. You can tell that it's a flaw on the structure side because of their attack round success rate is so abominably low. It was about a 19% attack round win rate for this team coming into this match, coming into this event, essentially, because it was a one and done for them. 19%. I don't think this match changed those numbers at all when you look at all 3 maps across the board. Traditionally, in tactical FPS, a failure on the attacking side of things generally means that it is a failure on the structure side. It is a failure of the coach/IGL of coming up with proper game plans that not only are strategically viable, strategically successful, but also able to put your players in a position for them to succeed. And we still weren't able to see much of that in this match against the Sentinels. Cryo was still popping off. In the one map that they did win, granted it was in overtime, so it was 26 rounds played, CryoCells still hit 65 kills this entire series. He led in kills over the entire 3-map series. Second place is Zekken on the Sentinel side with 62. 65 kills is only one shy of being exactly 1 kill per round played in this series. So CryoCells is still delivering where he needs to, especially on the defensive side, especially when you put a sniper in his hands, whether it's the operator or the Chamber Ultimate Tour de Force. Stellar himself did put up better numbers than I was expecting. However, that seemed to have come at a sacrifice of everyone else, especially Derek and Bang. That is not to say that Derek is the best initiator around. In fact, with 10s playing KO on the opening map, you can make the argument that Sentinels alone have 3 better initiators than 100 Thieves does, but a 0.67 rating for Derek at the end of this entire 3-map series is significantly lower than you would expect for a player of his caliber. Now, I don't want to harp on the stats, the numbers themselves. We can talk all day about that, what they mean, how valuable they are to look at, how not. But the point is that while from the outside, it's a lot less straightforward because of agents and their abilities of judging whether a player is being valued, whether they're being set up to succeed or not. Because in the way that there is always going to be a compromise, always going to be a transference of responsibilities of where they are meant to deliver on the map. And should also add, it is a bit unlucky that 100 Thieves had their first match back against Sentinels, who, as I could tell at the end of the regular season, as well as now, with everyone in the roster, were better than their VCT season placement. So it is a bit unlucky that 100 Thieves had to go up against an opponent stronger than their ending position. However, looking at this roster, you can't say that they were expected to deliver at this level. You can't say that these individual players, Cryocells, Asuna, Bang, Derek, and even Stellar to his own right, you can't say that that team was not expected to deliver better than what we saw. Not even just in terms of results, but of how seemingly unput together their attacking sides specifically were. Now, there's also this public perception of Cryocells being a defensive-sided duelist, which, not to take away from the fact that he is incredibly powerful on the defensive side. He's really good with any sniper rifle, whether it's the Operator or, as we saw from this series, the Tour de Force. And that weapon delivers powerfully on the defensive side of things. However, when you look at the fact that this team was only able to win 19 give or take percentage of their attack rounds, when this team struggled so much to get a proper attack system set in place, you can't look at Cryo's kill stats, attack versus the defensive side, and use that alone as a way to say that he is only a defensive-sided player. He's only getting numbers on the defensive side because the team is only getting numbers on the defensive side. If these duelists are supposed to be getting these kills on their own, what's the point of the Initiator? What's the point of the Sentinel? What is the point of the Controller? What's the point of any of the teammates if you just expect these players to go on in without any utility backing them up? The nature of playing defense on any plant diffuse game mode in general means that on the defensive side, you have more agency as an individual to make plays and get frags that way. On the attacking side is where you need to be more coordinated. And as we saw throughout the entirety of the VCT system, that was the one step, that was the one level that 100 Thieves was just never able to really take their game to. So to create this narrative that Cryocells is only able to deliver on the defense is a gross exaggeration using the numbers in a manipulative way. That being said, yes, absolutely. He is a monster on the defensive side. And the fact that we saw him play Chamber in 2 of the maps and put some really good defensive moments, or even some good moments on the attacking side, but still playing a more defensive, sentinel-y way that Chamber is played. If 100 Thieves wants to take Cryocells, keep Cryocells, and continue to push him in that direction, build a team around him playing a more defensive style sniper, defensive style operator style of play, keep Asuna as well, make him be that more aggressive, secondary duelist-y, but still duelist/initiator, him entering and taking space and having Cryocells there with the Operator to be the finisher on the round. That is probably one of the best ways that they can build off of this initial base roster. And depending on how the agent market, and by that I mean like free agent, like player agent market at the end of this year looks, might probably be the best solution for 100 Thieves. Because again, blowing up this entire roster to rebuild from scratch would be throwing away 5 great pieces because all 5 of them didn't work perfectly together. Now, this is not to say that all you need to do is replace Stellar, get a new IGL, and everything is solved. Far from it. It's unlikely that the leadership, that the structure builders in Mike's and Stellar were the only reason why this team failed. I would say 100% this organization needs to keep Cryocells. And then for me, Asuna and Bang would be next on the list of who to keep. After that, it would really just come down to how do these players play together? How are their temperaments playing around each other? Do we have a healthy mix of aggro versus more introverted players? Are these players mentally healthy around each other? And I don't mean that in like a burnout sense of mental, but just in the sense of good, solid, proper chemistry in this team. There's a lot that goes on to building these teams and building these rosters. And because Valorant is so new, we're still figuring out where these players are able to be the most successful. What sort of teammates are they able to be the most successful with? What type of personality props them up? But on the flip side, to suggest that 100 Thieves should keep this roster, keep all 5 members, and expect them to perform markedly better next year that is not a gamble I am willing to take. I don't think anyone would be willing to take. Yes, it's possible, but it's also possible for me to win the jackpot when I just run downstairs and try and get a scratch-off ticket from the corner store downstairs. It's not going to happen. And yep, those are my thoughts. Don't worry, this is the last time I'm going to be talking about this team for a while. This is not going to become a 100 Thieves channel. Don't worry about that. We'll be talking about other teams next time. But I'll see you then. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.